Hello, my best students. Imagine a world where machines can think, speak, and even create. A world where you can have conversations with an AI that feels almost human. This is not science fiction anymore. It is happening now with artificial intelligence and ChatGPT. In this episode, you will practice your English while learning how AI rose from a dream in science fiction to one of the most powerful tools of our time. Stay with me until the very end. Because this story is not just about technology. It's about the future we are all building together. Let's begin. Part 1. The Dream of AI. From science fiction to real possibility. Long before artificial intelligence was real, it was a dream. For centuries, humans imagined machines that could think, speak, and act like us. These dreams appeared in myths, in books, and later in movies. The idea of a thinking machine was not new. What is new is that today it has become reality. In ancient times, people told stories about artificial beings. The Greeks had the myth of Talos, a giant bronze man who protected the island of Crete. In Jewish tradition, there was the golem, a figure made of clay brought to life to serve its master. These myths showed an old human desire to create something intelligent, something alive but not human. In the 19th and 20th centuries, science fiction carried this dream further. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein told the story of a scientist who created life. Later, robots appeared in literature and film. In 1920, a Czech play called RUR introduced the word robot. The robots in the story were machines that eventually rebelled against humans. Movies like Metropolis, 1927, and 2001, A Space Odyssey, 1968, imagined intelligent machines with human-like powers. And of course, the world of Star Wars gave us friendly robots like C-3PO and R2-D2, making AI part of pop culture. But in the real world, computers were still very simple. In the 1940s and 1950s, they could only calculate numbers. They were huge machines, filling entire rooms, with less power than a basic calculator today. Yet, even then, scientists began to wonder, could these machines one day think? One of the first to ask this question was Alan Turing, a British mathematician. During World War II, Turing helped break secret codes, using machines to process information faster than humans. In 1950, he wrote a famous paper asking, "Can machines think?" He proposed the Turing test, a way to judge if a machine is intelligent. If a human talked to a machine through text and could not tell if it was a machine or a person, then the machine could be called intelligent. This was the beginning of artificial intelligence, not as a story, but as a serious science. In the 1950s and 60s, scientists started using the term artificial intelligence. Early programs could solve math problems, play simple games like checkers, and even prove logical statements. These achievements were exciting, but also limited. The dream of human-like intelligence was still far away. Still, the idea of AI inspired hope and fear. People asked, if machines can think, what will happen to humans? Will robots replace us? Will they become smarter than us? These questions grew louder as technology advanced. In the 1970s and 80s, progress slowed. Computers were still too weak and data was too small. Many governments stopped funding AI research. This period is sometimes called the AI winter, a time when the dreams seemed frozen. But scientists did not give up. By the 1990s, AI made a comeback. Computers were stronger. Data was growing. New techniques like machine learning allowed programs to improve by practicing with examples. Suddenly, AI could do more. In 1997, IBM's computer Deep Blue defeated world chess champion Garry Kasparov. This was a shock. For the first time, a machine had beaten the best human in a game of strategy and intelligence. The world realized something important. AI was not science fiction anymore. It was becoming reality. The dream of AI had traveled far, from myths of bronze giants to science fiction robots to real computers beating humans at chess. But this was only the beginning. The question was no longer, can machines think? The question became, how far can they go? In the next part, we'll look at those early steps, how computers began learning step by step, and how those steps built the foundation for ChatGPT and the AI we use today. Part 2, the early days, how computers learned step by step. In Part 1, we saw how the dream of AI began, in myths, in science fiction, and in the imagination of pioneers like Alan Turing. But dreams are only the beginning. To make artificial intelligence real, scientists had to teach computers step by step, like a child learning to walk. In the 1950s and 1960s, the first AI programs were written. These early systems were simple by today's standards, but at the time, they were revolutionary. For example, a program called The Logic Theorist, created in 1956, could prove mathematical theorems. Another program called ELIZA, written in the 1960s, could simulate a conversation with a human. ELIZA pretended to be a therapist, asking simple questions like, "How do you feel today?" and repeating parts of the user's answers. People were amazed. Even though it was very basic, it felt like the computer was listening. These first steps showed that machines could follow rules, process language, and even mimic small parts of human thinking. But there was a problem. These systems were limited. They could only do what they were programmed to do. If you gave them something new, something outside their rules, they failed. It was like teaching a parrot to repeat words, impressive, but not true understanding. The 1970s brought more experiments. Scientists worked on expert systems. These were programs designed to copy the knowledge of a human expert in a certain field. For example, an expert system for medicine could suggest diagnoses by following rules given by doctors. At first, people thought expert systems would change the world. But again, they had limits. If the problem was too complex or the rules incomplete, the system gave wrong answers. Progress slowed. This was the first AI winter, a time when excitement turned to disappointment. Funding stopped. Many believed AI would never reach human-level intelligence. But behind the scenes, something important was happening. Computers were getting stronger. Microchips made machines faster and smaller. More and more data was being created, not only numbers, but also text, images, and sounds. And scientists were discovering new methods that would change AI forever. One of the most important ideas was machine learning. Instead of giving a program a long list of rules, what if you let it learn patterns from data? For example, instead of telling a program every rule about how cats look, you could show it thousands of photos of cats and dogs. Over time, the program could learn to tell the difference on its own. At first, machine learning was simple. Early algorithms could only handle small problems. But even then, it was a different way of thinking. Instead of building AI like a clock, with gears and rules, scientists began building AI like a brain, with examples and learning. In the 1980s, researchers developed the idea of neural networks. These were computer systems inspired by the human brain, with nodes connected like neurons. Neural networks could recognize simple patterns like shapes or letters, but again, computers were too weak to make them powerful. Neural networks were more of a promise than a reality. Then came the 1990s, and with it, a breakthrough. Computers had become much faster. The internet was spreading, creating a flood of information. Suddenly, AI had both the power and the data it needed to grow. One of the most famous moments came in 1997 when IBM's Deep Blue defeated Garry Kasparov, the world chess champion. This was huge. Chess was seen as a symbol of human intelligence. If a computer could beat the best human at chess, what else could it do? But Deep Blue was still limited. It didn't think like a human. It simply calculated millions of moves per second. Still, it showed the world that AI could challenge human intelligence in serious ways. Step by step, AI was learning. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't human, but it was improving. By the early 2000s, AI was appearing in daily life, in search engines, spam filters, and recommendation systems. It was still behind the scenes, but it was there. Looking back, these early days may seem small compared to ChatGPT, but they were the foundation. Without ELIZA, without expert systems, without neural networks, without Deep Blue, there would be no modern AI. Each step, each experiment, each failure prepared the way for the breakthroughs to come. And so, the dream of AI moved from science fiction to simple programs to something much bigger waiting just around the corner. In the next part, we'll explore those breakthroughs, how machine learning, big data, and neural networks finally combined to create the powerful AI systems we use today. Part 3. The breakthroughs, machine learning, data, and neural networks. By the late 1990s and early 2000s, artificial intelligence was no longer a frozen dream. The world had changed. Computers were faster. The internet had connected billions of people. Data, mountains of it, was being created every single day. And with this new power, AI was ready for a series of breakthroughs that would transform it from theory into reality. The most important shift was machine learning. Instead of programming a computer with thousands of strict rules, scientists discovered it was better to let the computer learn from examples. Just like a child learns language by hearing words again and again, a computer could learn patterns by seeing enough data. Think of email spam filters. In the past, a program needed long lists of rules. If the subject line contained free money, mark it as spam. If the sender was unknown, mark it as spam. But spammers always found new tricks. With machine learning, the program didn't need rules. Instead, it read millions of emails, some marked spam, some not. Over time, it learned the difference by itself. It could adapt. This was revolutionary. Another breakthrough was the rise of big data. The internet was creating more information than ever before. Text, photos, videos, searches, purchases. Every click, every post, every message became data. For AI, data is like food. The more data it eats, the smarter it becomes. Machine learning needed big data to grow, and suddenly it had more than enough. But the most powerful breakthrough came from something first imagined decades earlier: neural networks. Inspired by the human brain, neural networks are built from layers of connected neurons, simple processing units that together can recognize patterns. In the early days, neural networks were small and weak, But in the 2000s, researchers realized that with more layers, creating what we now call deep learning, these networks could do incredible things. Deep learning meant AI could recognize speech, understand images, and even translate languages with much greater accuracy. For example, image recognition became possible at a new level. A deep neural network could look at thousands of photos and learn to identify cats, dogs, cars, or even faces with surprising accuracy. Suddenly, AI wasn't just a calculator. It was becoming a perceiver, a system that could see, listen, and understand patterns in the real world. One famous breakthrough came in 2012 at a competition called ImageNet. This was a global challenge to see which computer system could recognize objects in photos most accurately. That year, a deep learning system called AlexNet crushed the competition, cutting error rates in half. The world was shocked. For the first time, AI could see almost as well as humans. From there, progress exploded. Companies like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, and later OpenAI invested heavily in AI research. They used deep learning to improve search engines, photo tagging, voice assistants, and translation. Suddenly, AI wasn't only in labs, it was in everyone's pocket, inside smartphones. Speech recognition improved dramatically. Virtual assistants like Siri, Alexa, and Google Assistant could understand spoken questions and answer them. Translation tools like Google Translate became far more accurate. Recommendation systems on Netflix, YouTube, and Amazon learned your habits and suggested what to watch or buy. AI was quietly becoming part of daily life, but deep learning also showed its creative side. AI could generate new things, not just recognize old ones. Music, art, and even text began to appear from machines. Neural networks learned to compose melodies, paint in the style of famous artists, and write simple stories. The line between human and machine creativity was starting to blur. Another key milestone came in games. In 2016, a program called AlphaGo, created by DeepMind, defeated the world champion in the ancient Chinese board game Go. This shocked experts. Go is far more complex than chess, with more possible moves than atoms in the universe. For years, people believed no computer could master it. And yet, AlphaGo not only won, it played moves that humans found creative and unexpected. It didn't just copy human strategies, it invented new ones. This was a wake-up call. AI was no longer limited to tasks with clear rules. It could think in ways that surprised even its creators. By the late 2010s, deep learning had become the foundation of modern AI. But the real leap was yet to come. Language models. Scientists asked, if a machine can learn patterns in images, can it also learn patterns in words? Can it predict the next word in a sentence, just like it recognizes the shape of a cat? The answer changed everything. In the next part, we'll explore the birth of ChatGPT, how OpenAI trained massive language models, and how these systems learn to talk, explain, and even create like humans. Part 4. The Rise of AI in Daily Life, Search Engines, Recommendations, and Assistants. By the early 2010s, artificial intelligence was no longer just a subject in research labs. It was moving into everyday life, quietly, step by step, until one day people realized they were surrounded by AI without even knowing it. Think about search engines. In the early days of the internet, when you typed a word into a search box, the computer just looked for matching words on web pages. It was simple keyword matching. But as the internet grew, this method wasn't enough. People wanted smarter answers. AI changed everything. Search engines like Google began using machine learning to understand not just the words you typed, but the meaning behind them. If you typed weather tomorrow, the system didn't just look for websites with the words weather and tomorrow. It learned you wanted a forecast, so it showed you the forecast directly. If you searched for best Italian restaurant near me, AI used your location, reviews, and patterns of other users to give personalized answers. AI turned search engines into knowledge engines. They didn't just find information, they interpreted it, ranked it, and tailored it to you. This was one of the first times people felt the hidden power of AI in daily life. Another area where AI became invisible but powerful was recommendation systems. If you've ever watched Netflix, listened to Spotify, or browsed YouTube, you've seen it in action. AI studies what you watch, what you skip, what you listen to, and even how long you stay on a video. Then, it predicts what you might like next. This might sound simple, but it transformed entertainment. Instead of you searching for content, the content finds you. That's why Netflix knows what series to suggest. That's why YouTube autoplay keeps you watching. That's why Spotify creates playlists like Discover Weekly that feel personal. Behind all of this is AI, learning your preferences, comparing them with millions of other users, and guessing your next choice. Of course, this is not only about convenience. Recommendations are also about business. The more you watch, the longer you stay, the more valuable you are to the platform. AI doesn't just serve you, it also serves the company. This is why recommendation AI is one of the most powerful and profitable tools in the modern world. Then came assistants, AI systems designed to talk to you, help you, and make life easier. In 2011, Apple introduced Siri on the iPhone. For the first time, millions of people could talk to their phone and hear a response. What's the weather? Set a reminder. Play my favorite song. It felt magical, even if it sometimes made mistakes. Not long after, Amazon released Alexa, and Google created Google Assistant. These systems lived not only in phones, but also in smart speakers in people's homes. Suddenly, you could control your lights, your music, even order pizza just by speaking. For many people, this was their first experience of AI as a voice. Unlike search engines or recommendations, assistants felt alive. You could talk to them. They weren't human, but they felt closer than anything before. AI also entered areas most people don't notice. It powers spam filters in your email, protecting you from unwanted messages. It helps with fraud detection in banks, catching suspicious transactions. It even assists doctors by reading medical scans and finding signs of disease faster than the human eye. By the mid-2010s, AI was everywhere, but because it was mostly hidden behind search bars, playlists, and voice assistants, many people didn't see it as true intelligence. They thought of it as a useful tool, not a breakthrough. And yet, something bigger was coming. All of these systems, search, recommendations, assistants, were based on AI learning patterns. But what if AI could learn not just patterns of clicks or pictures, but patterns of language itself? Language is humanity's most powerful tool. It carries thought, culture, and creativity. If a machine could learn language, not just words, but meaning, style, and flow, it could do something extraordinary. It could talk, it could write, it could create. This was the question that led to the birth of large language models, and eventually to ChatGPT. In the next part, we'll dive into how ChatGPT was created, how OpenAI trained machines with massive amounts of text, how they learned to predict the next word, and how that simple ability unlocked a revolution in human-machine interaction. Part 5. The birth of ChatGPT. How OpenAI trained a system to talk like humans. By the mid-2010s, artificial intelligence had already transformed search engines, recommendations, and assistants. But most of these systems were limited. Siri could answer questions, but it often misunderstood. Google Translate could help, but its sentences were sometimes broken or strange. AI was helpful, but it did not truly converse. The dream of a machine that could talk naturally with humans still felt far away. That dream began to change with the work of OpenAI. OpenAI was founded in 2015 with a mission to create artificial intelligence that benefits all of humanity. Unlike some companies focused only on profit, OpenAI wanted to build powerful AI responsibly. From the start, their scientists believed that language, human language, was the key. If a machine could understand and generate language, it could connect with humans in a deep way. The breakthrough came with transformer models. Introduced in 2017, transformers were a new kind of neural network designed for language. They could process text not just word by word, but in context. This meant they could understand relationships between words, sentences, and paragraphs much better than older systems. OpenAI took this idea and scaled it up. They trained models on massive amounts of text. Books, articles, websites, conversations, billions of words. The model's job was simple but powerful. Predict the next word in a sentence. If it saw "the cat sat on the yacht," it learned to guess "mat." By repeating this task billions of times, the model slowly learned grammar, facts, style, and even some reasoning. This led to the creation of the GPT series, short for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. GPT-1, released in 2018, was the first experiment. It showed that predicting words could create surprisingly fluent text. GPT-2, released in 2019, shocked the world. It could write paragraphs of text that sounded human. It could answer questions, summarize articles, even create short stories. OpenAI was cautious about releasing it fully because people feared it might be misused for fake news or spam. GPT-3, launched in 2020, was a giant leap. With 175 billion parameters, the internal connections in the network, it was the most powerful language model ever built at the time. GPT-3 could write essays, code, poems, and conversations that felt real. People were amazed and a little scared. But the real explosion came in 2022 when OpenAI released ChatGPT, a version of GPT-3 fine-tuned to chat with people in a natural way. Unlike earlier models, ChatGPT was trained not only to generate text, but also to follow instructions and respond in conversation. Users could ask it to explain, rewrite, brainstorm, role-play, and more. The result was magical. For the first time, millions of people could talk to an AI as if it were a tutor, a partner, or even a friend. Students asked it for help with homework. Writers asked it for creative ideas. Programmers used it to debug code. Ordinary people chatted with it about life, history, or dreams. What made ChatGPT different was not just intelligence, but accessibility. Anyone, anywhere, could open a browser, type a question, and get a fluent, thoughtful response in seconds. This made AI feel personal. It was no longer hidden behind search engines or assistants. It was right in front of you, talking to you. Of course, ChatGPT was not perfect. Sometimes it made mistakes, hallucinating facts or giving wrong answers. Sometimes it sounded too confident when it was wrong. But even with flaws, it was a revolution. For many people, it was their first real taste of the future. ChatGPT also sparked debate. Some loved it, saying it was the most useful tool since the internet. Others feared it, worrying it could replace jobs, spread misinformation, or change education. Teachers asked, if students can use ChatGPT to write essays, what happens to learning? Companies asked, if ChatGPT can write emails or reports, what happens to office work? But no matter the debate, one truth was clear. The birth of ChatGPT had changed the relationship between humans and machines forever. Think about it. For thousands of years, humans communicated with each other using language. Now, for the first time in history, we could communicate with machines in the same way. No programming, no commands, just words. And the machine answered back. The story of ChatGPT's birth shows the power of persistence. From Alan Turing's question in 1950, can machines think? To ChatGPT in 2022, it took more than 70 years of research, failures, and breakthroughs. But the dream of a talking machine finally became real. In the next part, we'll explore how ChatGPT began to change the world, in classrooms, in workplaces, and in the creative lives of millions of people. Part 6, how ChatGPT changed education, work, and creativity. When ChatGPT was released to the public in late 2022, something extraordinary happened. Within just a few days, millions of people were using it. Students, teachers, writers, programmers, business owners, everyone wanted to try talking to the new AI. For many, it felt like opening a door to the future. And soon, people realized that ChatGPT was not just a fun tool. It was a powerful assistant that could transform education, work, and creativity. Let's begin with education. For years, students had searched for answers on Google, but Google gave lists of websites, and you had to click, read, and compare. ChatGPT was different. You could ask it a question, and it gave you a clear, direct explanation. If you didn't understand, you could ask again, and it would re-explain in simpler words. For language learners, it became like a personal tutor. You could practice English, ask for grammar tips, or request example sentences. For science and math students, it could explain difficult ideas step by step. But this new power also worried teachers. Some students used ChatGPT to write entire essays or homework assignments. Suddenly, the old way of testing students, asking them to write papers, no longer worked the same. Schools began debating, should ChatGPT be banned? Should it be embraced? Should we teach students how to use it responsibly? The conversation about AI in classrooms became one of the biggest education debates of the 21st century. Now let's look at work. In offices around the world, ChatGPT quickly became a secret helper. Need to write an email? ChatGPT could draft it. Need a report summary? ChatGPT could condense it. Need ideas for a marketing campaign? ChatGPT could brainstorm in seconds. For busy professionals, it saved time. For small businesses without large teams, it acted like an extra employee. Programmers discovered it could write and fix code. Designers used it to generate descriptions for projects. Customer service teams used it to answer common questions. Suddenly, tasks that once took hours could be done in minutes. Some people celebrated this, saying it boosted productivity. Others worried, if AI can do all this, what happens to human jobs? Then there was creativity. This was one of the most surprising areas. People asked ChatGPT to write poems, stories, and songs. They asked it to role-play characters, to create dialogues, even to design game worlds. For artists and writers, it became a creative partner, not replacing their imagination, but sparking new ideas. A novelist might ask it to suggest plot twists. A musician might ask it to write lyrics. A teacher might ask it to invent fun stories for children. This raised another question. What does creativity mean in the age of AI? If a poem is written by ChatGPT, is it less valuable than a poem written by a human? Or is creativity about the process, not just the result? For many, the answer was that AI is a tool, like a paintbrush or a camera, and humans still bring the soul. In all three areas, education, work, and creativity, ChatGPT became a mirror. It reflected our hopes and fears about technology. On one side, it promised efficiency, inspiration, and help. On the other side, it raised deep questions about honesty, originality, and purpose. One thing was clear: ChatGPT spread faster than almost any technology in history. Within months, it had over 100 million users, making it one of the fastest-growing apps ever. This showed that the world was hungry for AI, ready to embrace it, even if we didn't fully understand all the consequences. For many people, ChatGPT became part of daily life. Students asked it for study help before exams. Employees used it to prepare presentations. Parents asked it to create bedtime stories for their kids. Travelers used it to plan trips. It was like a Swiss Army knife, flexible, adaptable, and available 24/7. And yet, while millions enjoyed it, others remained cautious. Some feared that depending too much on AI would make people lazy. Others worried about mistakes, because ChatGPT sometimes gave wrong or biased answers. Governments and companies started asking, how do we regulate this? How do we keep it safe? But no matter the debate, there was no going back. Once people experienced the power of ChatGPT, they couldn't imagine life without it. Just as smartphones had changed the 2000s, ChatGPT was changing the 2020s. In the next part, we'll face the harder questions, the challenges of AI. We'll talk about ethics, misinformation, jobs, and trust, and ask, how do we use this powerful tool without losing control? Part 7. The challenges: ethics, misinformation, jobs, and trust. By now, we know that ChatGPT and other AI systems have opened doors of opportunity. They help students learn, professionals work faster, and creators explore new ideas. But with every powerful tool comes responsibility and challenges that must be faced. The rise of AI has created serious questions about ethics, misinformation, jobs, and trust. Let's start with ethics. Ethics is about right and wrong, about how we use technology in a fair and responsible way. AI learns from data, but that data comes from humans, and humans are not perfect. Our data contains bias, stereotypes, and mistakes. This means AI can sometimes copy those same problems. For example, if an AI system is trained on biased hiring data, it might unfairly prefer one type of candidate over another. If it is trained on texts with stereotypes, it might repeat them. This is not the AI's choice. It is simply learning from what it sees. But the result can still cause harm. That's why scientists, governments, and companies are debating how to make AI fair and unbiased. Should there be rules for what AI can and cannot say? Who decides those rules? And how do we balance freedom with safety? These questions are at the heart of AI ethics. Now let's talk about misinformation. One of the most impressive things about ChatGPT is that it can generate fluent, confident answers. But sometimes those answers are wrong. This is called hallucination, when AI produces information that sounds correct but isn't. For example, it might invent a fake book title, a false date, or an imaginary quote. For casual conversation, this may not matter, but in serious areas like medicine, law, or news, misinformation can be dangerous. Even worse, bad actors can misuse AI to deliberately spread misinformation. Fake news articles, fake reviews, even fake videos created with AI. All of these are becoming more common. If people cannot tell what is true, trust in information can break down. This is why experts say we must be careful. AI is powerful, but it must be used with responsibility and fact-checking. The third challenge is jobs. AI can automate tasks that humans used to do. Some see this as a benefit, freeing people from boring, repetitive work. But others see it as a threat, replacing workers and creating unemployment. For example, if AI can write reports, what happens to junior office workers? If AI can translate languages, what happens to translators? If AI can analyze medical scans, what happens to some radiologists? Of course, technology has always changed jobs. The printing press replaced scribes. Trains replaced horse carriages. Computers replaced typewriters. But each time, new jobs also appeared. The challenge with AI is speed. The world must adapt quickly, teaching people new skills, creating new roles, and making sure humans are not left behind. Finally, the biggest challenge is trust. Can we trust AI? Can we trust the companies that build it? Can we trust ourselves to use it wisely? Trust is not only about whether AI gives correct answers, it's also about privacy, security, and control. AI systems learn from huge amounts of data. But where does that data come from? Does it include private conversations? Are users' secrets safe? People want to know that their information is protected. There is also the question of control. AI is becoming more powerful every year. What happens if one day it becomes too powerful? Science fiction has warned us about machines that rebel against humans. While today's AI is far from that, it is still important to ask who controls AI and for what purpose: governments, companies, or humanity as a whole. Despite these challenges, many believe the solution is not to fear AI, but to shape it wisely. Rules, education, and awareness can help. AI should not replace human values. It should support them. Used well, it can make life better. Used badly, it can cause harm. The responsibility lies with us. In a way, the rise of AI is like the Great Wall of China we talked about earlier. The wall was powerful, but it was not perfect. It slowed enemies, but it could not stop every invasion. AI, too, is powerful, but not perfect. It can help us, but it can also make mistakes. Just like the wall, AI teaches us that true protection comes not only from the tool itself, but from how wisely we use it. So, as we face the challenges of ethics, misinformation, jobs, and trust, one question remains: how do we guide AI into the future? That's what we'll explore in the final part: the future of AI and ChatGPT, and what it teaches us about human potential. Part 8. The future: where AI is going and what it teaches us about human potential. We have traveled from myths of bronze giants to Alan Turing's famous question to the birth of ChatGPT. We've seen how AI entered classrooms, offices, and our creative lives. We've faced its challenges, ethics, misinformation, jobs, and trust. And now we arrive at the big question. What is the future of AI? Where is it going next? The first truth is this: AI is not slowing down. Each year, models grow larger, smarter, and more capable. What ChatGPT can do today, writing essays, creating stories, answering questions, was unthinkable just 10 years ago. Imagine what 10 more years will bring. One area of growth is personalization. In the future, AI may know us so well that it feels like a personal coach, teacher, or assistant. It could adapt to our learning style, our emotions, even our habits. Instead of a general ChatGPT for everyone, there could be a unique ChatGPT for you, trained to understand your life, your goals, your personality. Another area is multimodal AI. Right now, most people know ChatGPT as text-based, but AI is already learning to see, hear, and create across different forms. Imagine asking one system to analyze a picture, write a story about it, then generate a video. Or imagine a future where you can speak to an AI in any language and it instantly translates your voice in real time with your accent and tone. These things are already starting, and they will only grow. AI will also expand in healthcare. Already, AI systems can read X-rays and MRI scans, sometimes with more accuracy than human doctors. In the future, AI could act as a health companion, monitoring your body, predicting illnesses before they happen, suggesting diets and exercises tailored for you. This could make healthcare more affordable and accessible for millions. Another future use is creativity. AI will continue to be a partner in writing, music, art, and film. But instead of replacing humans, it may open new creative worlds. A young musician in Africa could use AI to compose with the sound of a full orchestra. A student in Brazil could use AI to make animated films from simple drawings. A poet in Morocco could use AI to translate their work into dozens of languages instantly. The future of creativity is not AI alone, but AI plus human imagination. But of course, the future is not only bright. The challenges we discussed in Part 7 will grow too. Misinformation could become more dangerous, especially with deep fakes, fake videos that look real. Jobs could change faster than societies can adapt, and questions of trust, privacy, and control will become even more urgent. This is why many experts say the future of AI is not just about technology. It is about values. What rules will guide AI? How will governments, companies, and people decide to use it? Will it be used to unite people or to divide them? Will it help humanity or only a few? These choices will shape the story of AI as much as the science itself. But there is one more lesson here, maybe the most important one. AI does not only teach us about machines, it teaches us about ourselves. Think about it. We built AI by studying our own brains, our own language, our own creativity. Every improvement in AI reflects something human. ChatGPT, for example, is trained on human text, our books, our conversations, our stories. In a way, AI is a mirror. When we talk to it, we are also talking to our own collective knowledge, our own culture, our own imagination. This mirror can be both inspiring and humbling. Inspiring because it shows the power of human curiosity. Humbling because it reminds us that intelligence is not only about information, it is about wisdom, compassion, and values. AI may learn to predict words, but it cannot yet understand the full depth of human experience. That part still belongs to us. So, the future of AI and ChatGPT is not about machines replacing humans. It is about humans deciding how to use machines. It is about partnership. It is about remembering that tools are only as good as the hands that guide them. When we look ahead, we see possibilities. AI teachers for every child, AI doctors for every village, AI assistants for every dreamer. We also see risks, misuse, loss of jobs, and confusion about truth. The challenge of the future will be balance, using AI's power while protecting human dignity. And that is the final lesson of this story. The rise of AI is really the rise of human potential. AI shows us that when we dream big, when we persist, when we work together, we can create what once seemed impossible. The story of AI is not only about machines learning to talk, it is about humans daring to imagine and then building that imagination into reality. So, where is AI going? The honest answer is forward, faster, deeper, wider than we can predict. But wherever it goes, it carries with it a reminder. Technology may change, but human vision guides the path. And perhaps years from now, when people look back on this moment, the rise of ChatGPT, the rise of AI, they will see it the way we see the Great Wall or the invention of the printing press, as a turning point in human history. A time when humanity learned not only how to teach machines, but also how to better understand itself. From the dream of robots in old science fiction stories, to the algorithms that learned step by step, to ChatGPT, an AI that now speaks with millions around the world. The rise of AI is the story of human creativity. It shows us that imagination can become reality, and that the future is built by the questions we dare to ask. If this episode inspired you, don't forget to subscribe, because more stories, more lessons, and more English practice are waiting for you. Until next time, keep learning, keep dreaming, and keep flowing